Our demo tonight, we'll get into that right now. It's Alan Trout sharpening.
You mean start?
Yes. Why? What's wrong with those tools?
Well, what brought this all up, and I'm not going to try to embarrass anybody, but I will.
What am I doing?
Sam was at the pin turning deal doing a demo, and it was a wonderful demo. But he's having troubles with cutting something. I grabbed the tool, and I realized that you'd have problems cutting anything with that tool.
Not true, I do fine. Now who's lying?
So then I know Philip's been having problems, and this is one of Philip's gouges, and I'll pass it around. But this becomes dangerous. Here, we'll start.
I haven't been doing anything with it for a long time.
Yeah, thank goodness. Now, this one is almost as dangerous.
You might be able to plant tulips.
But tell her about your new baby.
Oh, I got this DVR, Nova DVR,
Oh, congratulations.
and you guys don't spill it. I ordered it, they didn't charge me tax, instead of getting here paying $200, and I'm keeping my mouth shut.
You just let 40 people know.
Yeah. Well, I can understand that. I mean, you can save on tax, period. But anyway, it got me thinking there's a lot of people that are turning and trying to turn that aren't using very sharp tools. And not that this one's dull, but I was using this, and I was about ready to take it back to the grinder to sharpen it a little bit more. And that is about 4 times sharper than what's there. So that was.
What's the deal with that rust on it, if that is the expensive tool?
It doesn't matter. They rust if you get water on them.
They're made of metal.
They're made of steel. You know, it's not stainless. So.
No.
Yeah.
So how do I get it off?
Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't care.
30, 40.
As long as it's sharp.
Oh, okay.
But you know that tool there. I was using. I was getting ready to take it back to the grinder. I was using the side of that bowl gouge a bit, just for doing some fine shearing cuts. That's the reason why I was going to sharpen it some more on a piece that I was roughing. And that gouge I got with a lathe. That's the only reason why I own it and I use it. It's kind of funny. It's one of the original Glacier V gouges, and a lot of people don't like them. It cuts plastic really well, though. When I'm doing my plastic stuff, it works really well for some reason. So.
Is that Thompson that you got last year?
No, that's an old Glacier. I don't know how. That's an old one. So it came with a lathe that I acquired. So, but basically, what I wanted to cover was just some basic sharpening techniques and the different things you can use. I kind of ripped off Ken up in Kerrville's idea, having the combo sharpening station that he had. This is my own interpretation, and you know, I did a little bit of metal fabrication, so I made the stands for the Tormek bars, and I had that for a long time, and then I know that a lot of people use the Wolverine jigs, and I personally like the Wolverine platform better than the Tormek platform because it's much more sturdy, and especially sharpening skews and stuff. I will tell you a story. I bought this here, and I get it home, and I notice that the dang platform, when I put it in, it was crooked like that. And so I'm thinking, this can't be right. You know, I just bought this, and it's crooked, and I could see the tab was welded on completely crooked. So I called Kevin up at One Way, and I said, hey, Kevin, I said, you know, your tab's crooked. Oh, we don't try to make it straight. That was his answer to me. And I said, really? He said, no, it doesn't really make that much difference. I said, okay. He said, but if you insist on it, we'll exchange it. So I just brought it back here and exchanged it here and let them handle it. But you know, I thought that's a surprising answer to me.
You don't weld it straight?
Yeah, they said, oh, we don't worry about that stuff. So, you know, what do I know? Anyway, so this is my interpretation. This was a chunk of 30-inch door, okay, that I had laying around, and it was solid core. So I just laminated it and mounted everything on it, It works really nice. The one thing though, when you combine your Tormek jigs with a Wolverine jig, your handles have to go on the inside to lock down the arm on the Wolverine parts. Now, this is one of the new CBN wheels. I know a few people here have them, and they're really nice. You know, they cut very cool.
For the price you pay.
It was it was $200 with shipping, you know, basically is what it cost. But, you know, it's pretty nice. One thing I did learn with the cheap grinders, the shoulder on the shaft wasn't straight, so I took it's soft steel, so I just took a parting tool, high-speed parting tool, straightened the shoulder out, and it turns fine. Because when I first did it, it was wobbling like that. I could get it out with a stone because I just rotate the stone until it was pretty true and then dress the stone. But I could not do that before. So I had to do that. And I'll tell you, this is the 180 grit wheel. And I still have like a 60 grit on this side. I will be buying an 80 grit at some point in time when I feel like I got an extra $200 to throw away. But they're awesome. Now the one thing you got to remember though, and I would have thought about doing this differently, but when they made these, you have to relocate your Wolverine jig on them because they're not centered, so you have to move it a little bit. So it's not that big of a deal, but I would have made it where it would have put a wheel in the same location as on the grinder, but I guess they can't figure all that stuff.
Not centered?
Well, when you set up your Wolverine jig, you want it in the center of the wheel.
Oh, okay.
When you put this on, it shifts over, so you have to move this over.
So that wheel is wider?
It's way wider, yeah, and that's nice, you know. I mean, a lot of people complain about Wolverine jigs being hard to handle. You know, I can sharpen some things freehand, but you know, it just takes more time, and then I screw something up, and then it's taking more time. There's guys that can do that all day long, and if I can just go back and touch up on a jig real fast and the way I turn, I don't use any weird grinds. Now, talking about different grinds, and I'll start with bowl gouges.
Alan, let me interrupt you.
Yes, sir.
One thing to be real careful about, make sure if you get a wheel like that, it's CBN,
Yes.
it's cubic boron nitride, you'll see those same kinds of wheels with diamonds on them.
Yeah.
Do not get diamond wheels.
Right.
The reason for that is that the temperature that's created when you're cutting steel actually dissolves the diamonds. They will literally dissolve off the wheel, so don't get a diamond wheel.
Yeah, they load up. Now, like I said, diamond's fine for carbide.
They disappear. I mean, they
Yeah.
literally are dissolved by the steel. It's carbon
Right.
and carbon, and it just goes right over.
But these grind much cooler than a friable wheel, which these aluminum oxide wheels are what they call a friable vitrified abrasive. So friable means it comes apart and exposes a new surface, and that keeps it from loading. The standard gray wheel doesn't do that. This doesn't have any dust other than steel dust, and that's the first thing you notice is all these dang steel shavings all over your bench when you get using it. You don't have dust from the wheel, but you got lots of steel dust. The other thing is there's sort of a break-in period on these. When you first get them, they cut a lot coarser, but after you've used them for a while, they settle in and they give a pretty consistent finish. And I really like them. They turn extremely true. They weigh a lot. They're like a 6 or an 8 pound wheel because they're a solid chunk of metal. But if I do recall, I was talking, Dave, I think these are a nickel bond is how these are, the CBN is attached to this. And it's pretty close to a lifetime wheel. You know, you're looking probably 8-10 years anyway. So they're pretty neat. But they're nice because they turn so true. You get no bounce on the wheel. You can clean them up real quickly. They're really nice for that.
And they never change dimension.
No, and they never change dimension. And I was going to mention that. You've seen a lot of these deals for like the Wolverine jigs to set your angles and things. What's really cool is you can use something. This is off of I have a wet grinder, and this is a jet wheel. And what's neat about the jet angle setting gauge is it's got a spot from 6 to 10 inch wheel. So you can set an accurate angle. Well, you can just set this up here and set this on your gouge and set that at 8 inch. And if you want a 40-degree angle or 45 or 50-degree angle, you can set it with one of these rather than having those fixtures. So it's kind of a neat deal. I think you can get these on Amazon for about 12 or 15 bucks. So that's a pretty cheap deal, and they work well. Now, talking about bowl gouge angles, and I've seen a lot of different things. More traditional swept bowl gouge with a wing on it ranges from about 50 to 65 degrees. Okay, the steeper nose angle allows you, when you're turning bowls, to get deeper into the bowl. Now, there's proponents of narrower ones. You look at all of the gouges that, like Johannes Mikkelsen uses. Those got a 40-degree edge, but he grinds the heel off on those. So you've got a really narrow cutting edge, and he grinds the heel off. Then you look at Mike Mahoney is the same deal. If you look at his gouges, he's still using a 40-degree edge, but he's grinding the heel back or using a secondary angle. The reason why they like that 40-degree edge is what I've found is it's easier to start the cut than a 60-degree, and it's more aggressive. Okay. I still say if you're new turner, that 60-degree blunt nose is not a bad place to be. It's very forgiving. It will work with anything. You can still sweep the wing nice and broad, and you can shear scrape with it. You can use the edge of the wing to cut. There's a lot of different things. It's a really versatile grind. It's just not as aggressive. And when you look at a guy like Mike Mahoney, that he's roughing 50 bowls a day or 60 bowls a day, he wants to get as much material out as fast as he can. Or you look at Johannes, he's just taken and he's trying to get that hat roughed out, in no time. But the thing that's interesting with a hat is he's really not cutting the bottom. He's coming in and he's usually cutting the outside, and then he cores the inside, and then he shear scrapes the inside with that 40-degree edge. So there's a lot of difference there when you look at how you're going to use it.
That's the true drawback to making one with a smaller angle than 60 degrees, not having the heel grind off. The point is, you can't make that sweep right at the bottom of the bowl, because you end up standing on the point with nothing to support it.
Well, here's something else I'm going to show too, talk about. And the only reason why I got this is it was a gift. I was telling somebody earlier. And this is a Thompson. It's his fluteless gouge. And it's really for cleaning up bottoms of bowls and stuff. And I've used it a couple times, and it works good. I need to resharpen it. I just got a real rough grind on it right now. But basically, it's got a really pretty blunt nose on it with the heel ground off. That way you can turn the bottom. And you just basically catch the edge, and it's cutting like a gouge, but yet as you go in, it's almost peeling like a scraper. And it cuts and leaves a good surface. You're not cutting much material off with it, though. And like I said, a friend of mine, I was saying, I would love to try one of those, but I don't want to spend 85 bucks to try one. So he gave me one. So I'm not going to turn it down.
Hey, I ain't gonna get you either.
Yeah.
Alan, what kind is it?
That is called a fluteless gouge. It's a 5/8 fluteless gouge. It needs to be resharpened right now. I haven't sharpened it in a while, but I was sharpening it on a 60 grit wheel is all, And it worked good. But I don't turn that many bowls. I do mostly vessels,
So when you use that, you use it like a scraper?
No, you go in with it at an angle, and then you catch the edge, you rub the bevel, and you just catch the edge and you run it back in. And it's for taking final cuts and stuff. It works really pretty decent. It's a neat deal. But
And Thompson is the only one that has it?
you can go out here and buy a scoochie gouge for spindle work. It's essentially the same thing. That's just a bigger, heavier piece of steel. And like I said, 85 bucks. I don't know. If you're turning a lot of bowls, it's probably not a bad deal. I don't turn that many bowls, so I wouldn't go out and buy one. Also, usually, like I said, I keep my gouges about anywhere from about 52 to 60 degrees. I don't get real crazy with it. Like I said, most of the time I'm turning vessels. I love 3/8 bowl gouges for doing bottoms on stuff. And you can get crazy with a 3/8 bowl gouge. You can take a lot of material off with them. And people don't realize it. That's where I get kind of amused with some of the roughing tools they sell now, I can take off almost as much with this thing as with one of those. Just depends on the wood and how hard you push, and if your lathe stops. You know, you can bog down a lathe. I know with a 5/8 bowl gouge, I've stopped 2 horsepower motors, just dink, you know, and it's not a catch, it's just too much pressure. So, but like I said, a 3/8 bowl gouge will do a lot of different things. We were talking about, let me see what else I've got in here. Here we got a little 3/8 spindle gouge. This one needs to be resharpened, but this is one of the times that I'll use a multi-grind edge. And I use this for doing finials and stuff, and it's a pretty narrow grind, but it's all ground back. And I do that with just a jig. You can freehand them. I freehanded them too, and it's dull right now. But you can actually use that almost like a skew. The top of it, it's got a really flat fingernail grind, and you can use them like a skew. And that's what a lot of people don't realize, that a lot of times the way we use a gouge is exactly like a skew, and you're paranoid about using a skew, but yet you'll use a gouge the same way. I know when I use the wing on, I'll rub the bevel and use the wing of a gouge just like a skew to take nice fine cuts. You know, it works wonderful, but that's almost like using it as a skew in a planing cut. So, now we're going to talk about sharpening a little bit here, and the different ways. We've got, and I'll show you this later, Philip, after we get done here. We've got this really dull gouge.
Keep beating on me, you're doing a good job.
And I'm going to find something here. Now, if you look at the one-way website and you're using a vari-grind jig, it tells you want your protrusion about 1 3/4 inches. And you know, I've played with different protrusions, and it doesn't change stuff a whole bunch as far as the wing goes. What you'll notice if you're using the Tormek jig, which you would use, let me see here, this is a SD185, and you would use this here, like so. And you follow Tormek's guidelines, and you know your jig would sit in here, and you would just rotate it back and forth. If you follow Tormek's guidelines, what you notice, the difference between a Wolverine jig and a Tormek setup is the wing is more vertical with the Wolverine than it is with the Tormek. So in other words, it's at a steeper side angle. And it's the geometry of the way the jig works, I'm sure of it. I don't know if it makes that much difference. I use them both the same way, and it's not much that you can't change with sharpening, so standard. Anyway, what you'll find is, like this one will probably be pretty dang close. Now, if you go to Thompson's website, he gives you a little deal. If you want to do his standard 60-degree grind, you just lay your jig up. That's actual size, and just use it as a comparator. You can do that, or you can just take a tape measure, and when you put it in the jig, I'll do that right now.
Is that a 60 degree?
Yeah, it's a 60 degree on this one. You just take this and you can just measure with a tape measure if you want to 1 3/4 inches. And that's right there. And you can lay it up here. And it's basically the same. So you could do that, or what a lot of guys do is they'll just take a block that they drill a hole 1 3/4 deep, and then they just shove it in. And that's the easy way to do it. But I just figured I'd show the other way. Now, this is pretty much a 60-degree angle here from the factory on these. And what you can do then is you just bring up your jig till you see it, you lock it down, and you look again. Now, if you really want to see, having the giant marks a lot here isn't a bad way to see what you're cutting. I don't really, this one's got enough rust on it, it kind of acts like a marks a lot. Were you washing these next to your in the clothes washer? I'm just teasing you.
I know.
See, you can go like that, and you can see that's close enough for what we're doing. Okay. Now, one thing you notice, if you got a cheap grinder like this, it takes a while for it to speed up with the machine. But it's literally, now it's just an easy motion. And you can see how quiet that's cutting. Now, and he still has a little bit, he'd been honing on that or something. What's that? Yes. Man, this thing is, we got a bit of material to take off here, Philip.
I haven't been using that for a long time. I'm using the easy liquid. I just said the weapon in 2 minutes, I'm going to go.
But for those of you that haven't used a CBN wheel before, you can see how smooth that is, grinding, you know, it's a pretty incredible deal. Oh, now we're getting a little bit of an edge on it. What's that?
What is CBN?
CBN is cubic boron nitride, is what it stands for. And it's used a lot for grinding things, but they also use cutting tools. Back when I was in the machine tool business, we used to use CBN cutters that were solid cubic boron nitride cutters, which at that time, and this has been 20 years ago, they were $150 a piece, and on cast iron. And it cut cast iron perfect. No coolant or anything. That's what was neat about it. You could use it dry.
What you cut the test on, engine blocks or something?
What's that?
What you cut the test on, engine blocks or?
Yeah, it would be engine blocks, cylinder heads, a lot of different things.
For all the hard time you give me, that deal is going to move.
What's that?
That's right. That's right.
Thank you.
What I'm going to do here in a second.
Explain the fact that stay off the point.
Yeah, what can happen when you're sharpening a gouge, you can do two things. You can make it look like it's a end of a pencil and get it too sharp by staying on the side too long, or if you stay on the point too much, it gets real blunt, and then you get these real big concave sections at the end. You just want it kind of blended pretty well. I don't get too freaky about it. I see a lot of people also with their side grind bowl gouges, they keep them real flat. I like mine a little convex. I find them less grabby that way. So
The other point though is that the point, if you're on the point, you'll be removing more material faster than when you're on the other side.
that's right.
So if you linger on the point too long, you'll end up grinding it away, and then you'll have to go back and grind the wings off again.
And then what I'm doing, this one was so dull, I just wanted to hit the,
Are you just eyeballing them?
Yes.
yeah. You'll see, watch this, I'll show you, just that real quick eyeball on that piece of paper, watch this. I'll just take the point again.
Let me give him a big one.
That's pretty close. So, you know, that's just eyeballing it. And your protrusion is really what's setting your angle to some extent in combination with the length of your arm.
Is how exact you are with the 1.5 inch.
Right,
But the fact that you do the same 1.5 inch every time.
right.
I actually use two because I like to stay high on the wheel.
What's that?
I actually use two. And I drilled out a plug, and I got it on my board.
Yeah. Now this I wouldn't mind cutting with that. It's got a little bit of a burr on it, which I'm good. I kind of like a burr on a gouge, believe it or not. But,
So what did you do with that, stone?
huh?
Just pounding stone?
Yeah, I was just, the inside, it was so rounded on that piece that I had to take more material off than I really normally would have. Although this is grinding real cool, so it didn't take much.
Alan, they sound like a cordboard wheel or a leather wheel to put on the buffer.
Yeah, to strop with.
They work pretty good?
Yeah, if you want to get them that razor sharp, I don't know, this is usually plenty sharp for anything that I want to do. So, you know, I've seen Louis, he'll sit there and strop a edge till it looks like a mirror.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes that much difference. I mean, my Tormek will get them that sharp, and I honestly, in performance, I don't notice that much difference.
But you don't want a burr on them.
I don't mind the burr. It works fine, especially when you're roughing.
One thing you may want to be aware of, especially with one ground this steep, is that when you make that arc at the bottom of the bowl, you tend to transition from the point to this point,
Correct.
and that will give you a secondary mark in the bottom of your bowl.
Yeah.
If you take this chisel to the grinder and just lay it on the grinding wheel like so and roll it, knock that off.
Yeah.
Just knock it off.
It makes a big
Then
difference.
that knife edge goes away, and it doesn't give you a secondary, you'll watch it, it'll follow. It'll be right behind the tool, and you'll see little rings going in the bottom of the bowl. It's that easy.
Alan,
Yes, sir.
what's the difference between your fluteless gouge, Vogue Angles, and around those springs?
The way you present it is what's different. When you're doing, yeah, right here, you're presenting this at this kind of an angle and you're pushing in like this. So you're actually using it almost like the nose of a gouge, except it's broader, and that's the only difference.
What do you call that?
This is called a fluteless gouge. Yeah. And
Pass that around.
So it doesn't
here, hold on
seem-
one second. I'm going to sharpen it.
It's already gone around once. Where you been?
Taking care of club business out there.
But anyway, what I was going to do is I'll sharpen the edge of that. Now, it's like any other.
Pick on the president.
Did you need anybody
I got my name
See for my edges. I know that's going to be way off. But you know, the biggest thing, especially for a new turner, I think they're intimidated by sharpening. And you know, what's that?
Those are the old ones.
Oh, is that an 8-inch wheel?
It is an 8-inch wheel. What's neat about this is you can grab the backside of this and stop it.
Does that only come in an 8-inch or does it?
They have a 6-inch as well. They do have a 6-inch.
Where did you get it?
I got this from D-Way Tools.
But it's quiet.
I asked him why it was expensive. I think it's the problem between the euro and American dollar. That's why.
Well, no, D-Way's here in the United States. I'm not sure who's making this wheel for them, though.
I talked to the guy that invented it.
Well, you got to remember, CBN has been around for a long time. I talked to that guy too. So,
With a heavy accent.
yes,
He had one for drumming, didn't he?
now I'm just, you know, this is almost freehand sharpening because I'm on a round edge. So,
What angle is that?
huh?
What angle is that?
This is just cutting it back. This is about a 60 or 70 degree angle. It's not real picky about it. You just have to be able to catch the edge. And I was just shortening the bevel on it, so a little bit. So you can pass that back around. Now what I was going to also talk about, and there's other things, other tools that we freehand sharpen. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Kelton hollowing tools. For small stuff, they're probably my favorites. They have a stay-light tip that they attach somehow, but the only way to sharpen them is by hand, and they're real goofy. But they cut so clean. But when I sharpen these, I don't have a rest or anything. I just come up here, and they don't ever look very pretty. But I'll just take and I'll hit the heel, I'll go across the back, and then I'll rotate. And you can feel this will have a really sharp burr on it.
Now, this doesn't catch at the corner?
Huh?
This doesn't catch at the corner?
No, because you're not using the corner. You got it on its side. You see, that's got a really sharp burr on it. And it cuts incredible. Until you use those Keltons, it's hard to appreciate.
Cabinet scraper is all.
Huh?
A cabinet scraper is all.
Oh, yeah. But that one works really well.
Forever.
Now, a skew. There's different ways of doing a skew. And I already had this. I'll pass this around. This is a lacer grind on this, and I did this. It was a standard straight grind. You can still see some of the remnants of the original grind on there. And generally what Alan Lacer says is the width of the bevel should be 1.5 times the width of the skew, whatever that works out to. So that's what he says on angle. Now I know Chip doesn't use this style skew. I still like a straight skew for certain things. This, it cuts, it's a friendlier skew when rolling beads, I find. So
Doesn't matter when you use it for opening quarters.
yeah, when you're opening cans, it really doesn't matter.
Straight edge is better. That way you get more of a...
But I'll show you how I sharpen this one, and it's really very easy. Now my grinder sits a little bit higher off the ground at the house. My bench is about here, and then my grinder's up, so I'm in this area. It's much more comfortable for me to grind at that height. Now there again, I eyeball this. Till I see that that's not nearly sharp enough.
What did you say? You mentioned something about the height of the wheel right now?
Well, no,
Remember Alan Lacer's was way low.
yeah, but I'm hunched over.
No,
And-
Yeah, he was
Cindy,
too.
not Cindy.
I don't like being hunched over. It's not a comfortable.
Sarah Benfield, hers is all way up here.
Who's that?
Sarah Benfield or something that says.
Well, a lot of people that freehand sharpen, they'll sit there and they'll run up the grinder real high, and I can understand why they do that. But there again, I'm not a freehand sharpening works, and there again, this is as close as you're going to get to me freehand sharpening right here.
You're going to use this thing?
Huh? Now what I'll do is I'll mark this. We're going to sharpen the other one.
Alan, what'd you say you use this for, Lud?
That's for hollowing. All my little vases and stuff that I hollow.
Little bases.
Uh-huh.
They're great.
Yeah,
But that
Keltons
goes
are
on
incredible.
your rig, right?
They're a pain in the ass to sharpen.
Yes, they are.
I mean, you're sitting there with that damn hone going like this, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't.
Well, I've gotten to where on those I just grind them now, and I figure, I know I'm killing them, but honing,
On that wheel, you're not taking off that much.
no, you're not. You're not. But I've used those on the old wheels too, so they're
I can't go there yet.
Yeah.
It costs too much.
yeah, they do. But I figure after I sell 2 or 3 pieces, and if I get 2 years out of them and pitch them, they're not too bad. So, but yeah, they're incredible. Let me see.
Kirk, you're supposed to.
I'll keep you much.
Yeah.
That's on the back of it.
You gotta have a long, here.
No, you can't get it consistent.
And I'm just adjusting this to where, there it is. Basically on this, you just start at the point and then you roll your edge. And that's it. So you're coming up here and then you're rolling. And you go back and you roll. Okay? Then we'll go this side.
What grit wheel is that?
It's a 180. And the 180, it cuts about the same speed as an 80 grit wheel, but much cleaner. Right.
You're gonna get an 80 grit to go with it?
I'm going to get an 80 grit because there's times that I want, and I'll pass this around here in a second. Of course, this is something that I do hone. But you look, I mean, look how, you'll see how clean of an edge that is. But I just take my diamond home.
Do you use that on your bases? When you're hauling them?
What's that?
Do you use that on your base and hauling?
This? Usually when I'm doing spindle work or something. I got to make some feet for a couch. 8 feet, so I'm going to be using it. It's not hard work, it's just somebody wants me to do it and they're paying me, so. Yeah. And it's mindless work and I've got the maple to do it with.
You said you were gonna get an 80 grit, why?
There are times that I want to change an angle on something
Okay,
quickly.
just more rapidly
Yeah.
to take it off, okay?
Yeah.
I shave you on with it then.
And it made it.
A little bit.
Brother Carter.
I got a little bit. I just need to hone it a little bit more. Yeah. Hey, I did that at doing a skew demo for the pen group one time. I shoved it into my thumb. And it went to the bone. It was not a... But that's fairly sharp. I can hone it a little bit more with a finer edge. So,
Yeah.
Alan, how long do you think that wheel will last?
I know Dave at D-Way says he's got wheels that are 3 and 4 years old that he uses every day, lots of tools, and they're still cutting the same. So he grinds about 400 times more than I do. So I'm figuring it's going to last me 10 or 12 years. So,
Been 1200 lifetime or something.
yeah.
Don't use them, they last forever.
The introductory price is $185.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're 185 plus shipping or whatever. So that one was pretty. Now here's just a plain old skew, and I will tell you. Yeah, I haven't honed it yet. It got a little burr on it, but it's still pretty sharp.
Believe it or not, that's one of the best scrapers we do.
Yes, it is. And I do like a skew for a negative edge scraper. And I use it for certain things like that. I know some people think that's blasphemy, but for certain things, it works. So
Say that again? What's blasphemy?
using a skew as a negative edge scraper.
What's wrong with that?
Now here's a little cheap skew.
It works another way.
Huh?
It works another way.
Yeah. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the full Tormek method for doing a skew. And I'll show you this. And the main reason why I want to show you this is because it is a great way to sharpen the skew.
While you're setting up, tell me why you use that flukeless gouge. It's a curve scraper. What do you use that for?
Huh?
That
For getting to the bottom of the bowls.
Finish.
Yeah. It's a finishing cut only. I forgot my setting jig, but he might have.
He was out, he missed all that before.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Alan, you're gonna do that, detailed gouge I have in mind?
We'll get there.
No,
Keep on him, yeah.
No, he said perfect that he will do it, so.
I left mine at the house.
I didn't know what to bring on it.
Where's my, oh, there's mine.
I got.
I called Robert, I said, hey, call Philip and Sam, because they got double tools.
You wear that.
Yeah, he doesn't use it.
I know, we missed that email to bring your tools.
Yeah.
Can we have the list to market again?
That's true. Now, what this does is this sets a depth on the Tormek. It's their TTS 100 setting jig. It's really a pretty cool little jig for repeatability. And what it does is it sets at the specific angle, and then next what you do is you use their SVS 50 multi-purpose.
They have such idiotic part numbers. and names.
Yeah, they do, but they're Swedes or something, so.
Hey.
He's asking for it, that's.
I'm just teasing.
Tend to tell us, let's go.
That's, oh, I've got to put it in there correctly. Now that's just a straight skew, and I hone the dickens out of these things when I use them. But basically, this is a 20 degree, and then we're just. And you know, skews always take a long time to sharpen because you got a lot of surface area you're sharpening on. So they'll generally take more, but although it's much faster on this than it is with a grinding wheel, and it doesn't load as much, but you can see the fine metal particles that it's kicking off down at the bottom. So, but like I said, this just holds it in place.
And that tool's cool.
I'm not screaming, but it does, if you do it enough, it gets hot, but it's not nearly as hot as a vitrified abrasive wheel.
It'll get hot enough to turn the tip of the tool.
You could probably do it. I wouldn't suggest trying it, but yeah, if you held it in one spot long enough, you could probably glue something, but it's hard. You know, that's the other thing. The thing with CBN, you should not grind, carbon steel on it, because that loads the wheel as well. So it's really only for high-speed steel or the high vanadium content steel.
Make it cool to clean the wheel first.
No, it doesn't need it. But they say you can take them because they are plated. If you want to go wash it off in the sink or whatever, you can do that.
Who carries those wheels?
What's that?
Who carries those wheels?
D-Way Tools. He's
What's the guy who did squat with the wheel?
what's that?
The kid squat with their wheel?
No, that was the little English guy. They sell them too. D-Way was the first guy to introduce them to in the United States with any significance. So, Dave Schweitzer is his name. He makes nice. He makes some of the nicest beading tools you'll ever get a hold of. They're really nice.
That was if you only had, if you could only have one wheel, what gift would you get?
180.
180?
Yeah.
You're gonna save that?
Yeah. 180 because it leaves such a good surface. That's almost there. This one I had honed about 100 times, so it was a little worried. But I'll pass this around here in a second after I hone it. That's there. What's that? You got to remember, huh?
Jam it into your thumb.
No, I'm not going to do that. Although I've done that.
Why not?
Alan, did you hear that?
Been there.
I've done it.
Alan, did you hear that from back there?
What's that?
Jam it into your thumb.
Yeah. I'm looking for my dang gun now. Oh, there it is. I'm getting real junky here. But
But,
then I just,
I, 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 I,
then I just
And you cut a chicken head with that?
What's that? Now this one will shave hair.
You know, Alan Lacey and all the old guys, they say you're not supposed to use on the bolt. Then when we went to Cindy Drozek, there she is. She's using
Well,
that on that board. So it's a matter of who really knows how to handle it.
yeah. I'm in a bad. I'm right-handed and working over my left shoulder.
Turn your back now, we can't see what you're doing.
That's right.
So now this is just a switch out deal.
Yeah.
Now you see it, now you don't.
Well, you know, the thing is turning with dull tools is no fun.
I don't seem to mind.
Huh?
I don't seem to mind.
Well, I know, but they're used to it. You don't know any better.
You're young. Wait till you.
Yeah, there you go. I'll even leave my hair on it.
Oh boy. Now the thing
But that's a much sharper skew. That's my pen turning skew. So, just a little lightweight, cheap
Okay, your
skew.
finger now.
No, that was,
Putting that curve to it, right?
Yeah. Now this will blue a little bit on that thin stuff like that, but.
he says it's yours, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Dip it in water so it won't rust.
It's not good.
that's a lot sharper parting tool now. It probably could be a little sharper.
That's used.
Huh?
That's used.
That's a parting tool. Yeah, I know.
Oh, this one is hard. I said that detail is supposed to be really, kind of, really long on the side.
Yeah,
From what angle are you sitting
I'm guessing.
at? Oh, thanks. What a teacher.
That's about a 40 degree. I'm going to take this real gentle because we don't want it to heat it up.
Those spark is like you can tell it's carbon.
Yeah, yeah. Those white sparks are carbon steel. But you know, I just don't want to get it hot. The minute you get it hot, what's that? Well, it's pretty much useless this way anyway.
He gets hit as a gift. He's not even willing to give me a gift for it.
And I'm not putting much pressure against it.
It's not fit on it.
You don't want to put a lot of pressure on it. You never want to get body fasting. You want to really see.
Now, do most of the people in the room use a Wolverine jig, or? Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much the standard. The Tormek does some things really good.
Is this the 4-inch that you have before?
What's that?
This is the 4-inch? So you had me buying this, and you said I have to make it for you?
Yeah, you have to make a stand. And then being that I put the Tormek on there, I had to raise them 3/4 of an inch. Or not Tormek, but the Wolverine Jig. I had a couple pieces of Purple Heart and I just had it there. I wasn't ever going to use it.